Thursday, the 5th of February. Yay! Welcome to a Totally Football show. Dan Kilpatrick's back with us today. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
Nice to see you. Have you calmed down after your anti-Thomas Frank rant last time?
Yeah, Spurs have picked up a bit, so I'm in a better place, James.
That second half against Man City.
Exactly, yeah. Tottenham are back.
Nice. Jack Lang's here.
Hi.
Hi, Jack. Nice to see you.
And you, James.
All right. And Duncan Alexander also here.
Hello. Happy birthday to many footballers. It's today's football birthday day, right?
Is that right?
Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, Carlos Tevez, and others.
Poor Cristiano
Of a
Ronaldo.
certain era.
Yeah, but like it's a pretty good haul, I'd say.
Do you think it was only in one era that this was a...
I think that's going to get outdated fairly
Why?
soon, isn't it? Because Ronaldo's 42, 41?
Yeah, but one other...
One today, yeah.
Special report. Where are the modern players born on 5th of February?
Precisely.
What's gone wrong?
But if there was a glut of footballers born around this time, that surely speaks to a glut of footballers' parents getting jiggy around 9 months before. So are you suggesting that the kind of season of jigginess has changed, or...
With climate change, possibly.
Maybe so.
How
Yeah,
did-
true, actually, 'cause it would be about the middle of the year, wouldn't it? So maybe it's now too hot. So
Maybe so.
maybe like late December's the new golden period.
Anyway, Duncan's here, and a happy birthday to everybody, especially poor Cristiano Ronaldo, who's, as we know, locked in a bitter battle for his club's soul, really. Also, bitter battles this week. Carabao Cup, semi-final second legs. And we now know the finalists on the 22nd of March, also known as the day before our live show at the Leicester Square Theatre, if that date sounds familiar to you, listener. Arsenal will be facing Man City. Arsenal have reached their first cup final since the 2020 FA Cup affair. And Man City, who've had more League Cup finals you can shake a stick at late. They won it 4 years in a row between 2018 and 2021, but have not won it since. Well, today on the pod, we have a man who was at the Emirates for Arsenal-Chelsea and enjoyed it. Duncan.
I did. I think it was very much one of those games that if you're at the match, you kind of appreciate the tension and the slow build up to drama, whereas I'm pretty sure, and as was confirmed, anyone watched on TV didn't quite have that same experience. But I think the approach that Chelsea took was fair enough. It's one of those scenarios where if a team is at home defending an aggregate lead, narrow aggregate lead, that's kind of the match you get, right? Because Arsenal didn't want to, if I push forward and get caught out, Chelsea didn't want to concede early goals. We saw 24 hours later what happens if you concede early in that situation. So it was kind of as expected, I think. And Chelsea basically wanted to get to the last 20 minutes and then have one push. And they didn't really create any massively clear-cut chances, but they definitely had a few kind of decent efforts from outside the box. And then, Arsenal caught them on the break. And it ends 1-0. But I thought it was quite a sort of fascinating game. And I thought Wednesday's semi-final kind of proved that more so.
A couple of former Chelsea players featuring in Arsenal's lineup. Kepa Adore Apollo writes in, says, should Kepa start in the League Cup final, given his history in the last two finals he's played in? 2018 when he refused to be substituted, then lost the penalty shootout. And then 2022 when he lost the penalty shootout, but this time when he blazed over the bar. Gazzarelda also writes in on this game saying, does the positive press around Rosenior result from him being TM the nicest man in football? His Hull City spell was turgid, says Gazzarelda. Yet local media tried to tell fans he was great. Now national media hail him as visionary for using the same defensive set-piece tactics versus Arsenal as Maresca. What do you say to that, Duncan?
Well, I mean, he's won every match so far other than the two games against Arsenal. And, that is the kind of the benchmark, I guess, for any manager. I mean, he lost a bit of aura in the game because there was a high ball that dropped towards him and he tried to control it and shinned it straight into the crowd. And there's some nice shots of Chelsea players on the bench sort of half smirking. So, that might not help. But I think he did what he could do. I mean, they didn't have Reece James that game. He obviously chose to put Liam Delap out on the right wing in a kind of Josh Stein flow style.
It was one of the most aesthetically displeasing things I've ever seen. Like it was, you can pick a striker on the wing within certain bounds. Like if it's Romelu Lukaku did it quite a lot out on the right for Belgium and a couple of times for Man United, but he is cutting in on the diagonal and he has pace. Delap isn't and doesn't, and it was I just thought it was kind of worked to some degree because they stayed in the match, and then kind of he was without Pedro Neto was injured, and I think Estevao had just come back from Brazil, so there were reasons for it, but I just thought it was incredibly ugly.
Well, you touched on it there, Duncan, but last night's second semi-final, as I think, aged Rosinier's approach really well, because he said afterwards, we could have gone out, we could have pressed them man for man, and we might have been 2-0 down in 20 minutes. And that's exactly what Newcastle did, really. It was kind of like two different ways to lose a semi-final decider when you're trailing from the first leg. So I think, with a bit of hindsight, his approach looks much better than it did on the night when Jamie Redknapp and Paul Merson were just frothing at the mouth, saying, I can't believe what I'm seeing here. I thought it was, like Duncan, a fairly reasonable approach.
I would actually take issue with the question. I don't think he is seen as this guy. I think there's already a kind of a backlash wave breaking, like waiting to break. After all of this kind of LinkedIn speak, which he's been criticised for rightly, because
attempted to control the ball in front of professional
footballers.
Well. No, that for me is
we should
a sign of
he was a
chutzpah.
professional footballer, played hundreds of games.
But I don't see this media darling thing. I think people are a bit sceptical, and from the circles that I move in, is kind of like, well, he's going to be chewed up and spat out by this machine.
When you've lost the
on
Jack
Twitter
Lang
for the man age thing, rightly so. I think, to be fair.
Yeah, and you could see it last weekend when they were 2-0 down to West Ham. People were like ready, and he turned it around. So. Yeah.
People, What are they like?
People. I mean, we should, as someone who was at the game, fair play to the Chelsea fans, because obviously you get more tickets for Cup semi-final or Cup games. They had the upper bit of that corner of the Emirates where rail seating for infrastructure fans has gone in. And the atmosphere was tremendous. And it kind of just reminds you that, like, if you just gave away fans a lot more tickets, atmospheres tend to be much better.
Right.
So, although I must point out that when Havertz scored...
Yes.
I think the away end was still full because obviously they were hoping for a Chelsea goal to take into extra time. Within 30 seconds, it emptied. I've never seen it felt like a military operation they'd left, and that was genuinely impressive. So.
Now, Newcastle's position was substantially different to Chelsea's in that they had 2 goals to make up, and therefore couldn't really sit around and hope to snatch something late on.
Yeah, but Man City have been brilliant in first halves this year and terrible in second half. So I mean, I
wait
think
around a bit, you feel.
Try and keep it tight till half time and then pick them off would.
Newcastle's last visit to the Etihad had seen them have a similar experience when they were 3-0 down after 33 minutes. This time it only took them 32 minutes to be 3-0 down. They'll be back at the Etihad in about 2 weeks' time in the league again. They did get a lovely goal from Elanga, his first goal from the club. That was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing about Howe's approach versus Rosinier's approach. With Rosinier's approach, if it doesn't come off and you lose the game, there's not really much to fall back on. There's not many positives. You feel like you didn't really have a go. You have regrets. Whereas Howe went for it, and I guess he could say, well, Elanga got lift off. He got his first big moment in the Newcastle shirt. Could have scored at least one more. And actually, they had enough chances to make that game much more interesting than it was. And Trafford, I think, strangely, given how comfortable it was after half an hour, was kind of one of the positives and stories of the night for City. So that there was a lot more for Newcastle to kind of fall back on afterwards, I think, even given the disappointment of losing it.
Okay.
And it sets up the final quite nicely because you mentioned Kepa. And you'd imagine Trafford and Kepa will keep their places for the final. And both goalkeepers who are better than they're given credit for, I think, albeit Kepa's still the world's most expensive goalkeeper. But... I think David Raya and Donnarumma are definitely better. So it's always quite fun when clubs go into a showpiece occasion, with a sort of a chosen weakened team. But there we go.
There you go. March 22nd, we should be seeing more of Elanga, no? Because Anthony Gordon went off mouthing the word hamstring.
It was, very lip readable. And it looked, he sat down and it instantly knew he was coming off. Yeah, another negative for them. They've got mounting injury concerns. And I wonder if the injuries pushed them into the kind of playing the back three, which didn't work at all here. I mean, particularly because they had no one to mark. He had 3 massive lads at the back, and City just played kind of rotating 4 attacking midfielders. But Gordon probably a big loss.
At what point do we kind of sweat on the England squad? mid-March when these injuries start happening. It probably feels too early just to be worried about Gordon for the World Cup. But
Personally, I'm not sweating about it yet, but were you to be concerned about Gordon's participation, I think a hamstring in February, we're okay still. We're okay.
It's probably quite good. Have a little rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Get back fit and then do a metatarsal in April. Perfect.
A lot of football to be played for Arsenal and Man City, both keeping their quadruple dreams alive. In the league this weekend, what's going to be happening? Let's check through the fixtures that are on their way. It's match day 25. Friday it begins, actually, with Leeds against Forest, the teams at 16th and 17th currently. Saturday lunchtime, Man United take on Tottenham. Then at 3 o'clock, 5 games. Fulham, Everton, Burnley, West Ham. Arsenal take on Sunderland. Wolves are up against Chelsea. And Bournemouth host Aston Villa at 5:30 on Saturday. It's Newcastle, Brentford. Then 2 games on Sunday. Brighton Palace at 2 o'clock. And Liverpool City Liverpool Man City in the big Super Sunday slot at 4:30. As we begin to look forward to the weekend, let's begin with that match. Last weekend in the Premier League left Arsenal fully 6 points clear of Man City. Pep's side going to drop still further behind this weekend with Arsenal hosting Sunderland and Man City away at Anfield, where their record is not great. Who has strong views on this?
well, Sunderland are brilliant at home,
Right.
and not great away.
So
I do fancy Arsenal for this one. I think Sunderland have come up and made the Stadium of Light a place you really don't want to go.
So do you see City dropping further back?
Well, I think given that Arsenal play before them, yes, I could see them being 9 points behind when they kick off against Liverpool.
My question is very much relating to how.
After the end of the weekend, I see.
How do you think City will get on at Liverpool? Put it that way.
I could see that being a draw. So yeah, I do think Arsenal will open up a bigger gap this weekend.
Both teams coming off, both Liverpool and Man City coming off big wins against Newcastle, of course. City, who rested Erling Haaland midweek, although given that he's only scored one penalty in the Premier League since Christmas, and given as well his record at Anfield, I didn't realise this, he's only ever scored one goal there, and it was back when he was playing for RB Salzburg.
Missed a penalty against Liverpool earlier in the season too, although did make up for it. Yeah, I think obviously there's been a lot of attention on him. Marmoush playing so well in midweek, I suppose, gives Guardiola at least another option, although they haven't really played together particularly effectively. I'm kind of interested in what happens at the other end. So City are obviously missing a lot of centre-backs. Ruben Diaz, Gvardiol's out, John Stones, I don't really know what's happened to him for the last year. And they look really underpowered. The kind of Ake, I think, looks like he's coming to the end of his City time. Looks a bit... not the player he once was, maybe. Kusanov, I think, is decent, but is not a senior figure. And you've got Ekitike, who I think is capable of physically bullying whoever they put there. Ekitike, fantastic last weekend and really confident. And I think he will be looking to this game and think, there's a couple of goals in this for me. I think it could be a really exciting game. I don't think either defence is particularly... impressive at the moment. Yeah,
we knew what to expect for a long time with these games. We could almost sort of see it in your head before it happened, whereas this one, it's kind of two flawed teams, but with lots of, as Jack says, exciting players. I think Ekitike versus Kusanov. Kusanov, by the way, born on February the 29th, so he won't be celebrating his birthday this month. He's a real sort of cult hero already at City, and he's so...
Kusanov?
Yeah, he's so quick over sort of 10, 20 yards. And
is it his pace? Is it his...
Yeah, and he's kind of like, he's got a really good knack of sort of kind of missing the ball and having to chase back, but then doing an extraordinarily violent slide tackle that's within the realms of legality. So I think
Maldini be turning in his... Well, he's not dead.
turning in a tiny box. So that's good. And I just think it could be quite high scoring because I don't think either team is particularly good at defending at the moment. So looking forward to it should be, and with the as Dan says, with the knowledge of what Arsenal have done on Saturday, that will only ramp up the kind of tension on City, which I think Liverpool are probably in a reasonable place to take advantage of. So
okay, City with just one win in their last 6 in the Premier League, remarkably enough. Liverpool, who themselves are in a fight for top 5 in Champions League football, currently Liverpool just outside The famous five. They're sixth. They are a point behind Chelsea, who are fifth. Man United are a point further ahead in fourth spot.
Yeah, that's quite interesting in the sense that it's sort of 6 teams fighting for 5 places,
Right.
you'd think. And
So you'd include Villa and potentially even City in there, would you, or not?
yeah, I think City down is basically fighting for the top 5. So, and it's obviously for all those 6 clubs, even Villa with their wages to turnover ratio, getting in the Champions League is hugely important. The pressure on Liverpool, even though they're out of the title race, is there.
City are currently 8 points clear of Liverpool. So the idea of them dropping out of the Champions League positions does seem quite a dramatic one.
On Sunday.
It could be 5.
Given
by
our beloved
Sunday,
3 points through win system.
And I just wonder, now that rumours are increasing about Pep's future and the fact that he might be leaving, or the idea that he will be leaving at the end of the season, whether that might start to play a role, or might already be playing a role in this drop-off in form. But maybe I'm just constructing narratives to fill a podcast. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. That is Liverpool, Man City. Dan?
One thought I had is to take it back to the League Cup, is the psychological significance of that final in the title race.
Yes.
And Guardiola's very big, isn't he, on teaching his players how to win. But that's why he prioritised all these League Cups over the years, because you get a trophy under your belt and you kind of get a taste for it, and then you go on to win bigger things. And that's really what Arsenal need. Practically none of the squad have won silverware, so they need to get a taste of it. And Guardiola's got a load of new players that need a taste of it as well. So you wonder, given they're playing, I think, at the end of April, if City do win that, and Guardiola's got obviously a brilliant record.
They're playing Arsenal at the end of April.
They're playing Arsenal at the end of
Right.
April in the title race. And if it's still, let's say, 6-7 points,
Right.
and City have already won the League Cup final and kind of dealt Arsenal this big blow.
Arsenal's famously fragile mentality.
Precisely.
could be
So it's a kind of interesting
shattered.
game, sort of beyond just the silverware itself, in terms
Right.
of what it could mean for the league and maybe even the Champions League and FA Cup as well.
100%. We saw how Spurs were transformed by winning silverware. Only last.
that was a cruel blow, James. Yes.
Now, Arsenal-Sunderland. Dan says Arsenal are going to win that on account of the fact that Sunderland are not great. They haven't won any of their last 7 away. Also should mention that among the many honours that Arsenal are chasing this year is the record for most corners scored in a Premier League campaign. Record is 16. Arsenal currently on 14. So looking good, those Gunners. Who has the record? Duncan, do you know?
Joe Royal's Oldham.
Correct.
Tony Pulis's West Brom.
And one other team.
And an Arsenal team under the
Yes.
leadership of Nico Jova / Mikel Arteta.
Indeed so. All right, that top 5 race. We mentioned Liverpool's task to beat Man City. Chelsea in 5th spot, just above Liverpool, will be going to Wolves. Villa, if Duncan's including them, they're 5 clear of 4th place. Man United in 3rd, but not in the greatest run of form. They're at Bournemouth. And Man United themselves will be hosting Tottenham. Dan,
Hello.
nothing to worry about here from Spurs' point of view, because Spurs beat Man United not once, not twice, but 4 times last season.
Yes, that was very much a strength of Postecoglou Spurs. They didn't beat many teams, but they had the United's number. Well, obviously feels very different this time. There's 2 new managers in place, 2 pretty different setups, I think. I mean, from a Spurs point of view, I think they're still bad and dysfunctional, but I don't think they are in the same way that they were probably last time I was on this pod or a month or so ago.
What's got better, do you think?
Well, they were just really stodgy and struggling to create anything. And actually now they are creating chances. Solanke's come back. He's
Right.
pressing from the front. He obviously scored that brilliant goal against City. And he's made a big difference. And behind him, Xavi Simons is playing really well. Odebear's playing well. And they look like more of a threat going forward. But it's defensively where strangely they've got their best players in Romero and Van der Ven.
Although
albeit-
Romero, presumably.
Well, he's going to play. Despite criticising the club again.
Didn't he? Sorry, I thought he got injured or something last. Didn't
He came off ill against
came off ill,
City,
right.
but I think he'll play.
Okay.
And then he did this Instagram post where he said it was a disgrace.
Disgrace, yeah.
Yeah,
He said it was a disgrace that there were only 11 players available for the game against Man City. Is that right?
Yes.
And he posted that straight after the transfer deadline had closed.
That's right, about
Passed.
half
Don't
an
tell
hour
me about
after the
Aston
deadline.
Villa's title when they only use 14 players all season. He would be disgusted.
Right.
Yeah, we had a lot of debate. Pretty much everyone in the company seemed to chip into this debate as to whether he was directly criticising the ownership or whether this was a translation from the Spanish desgracia, which means unfortunate.
Indeed so.
And given the timing of it, given that he posted it just after the deadline about a match that had taken place the previous evening, I was pretty confident that he knew what he was doing and it was a deliberate pop at the club. But there was, I think, a degree of doubt.
Also, not the first time he's...
Yes, he's very much in character.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, he should be featuring that notwithstanding, as should Solanke, whose return has made such a difference and who's got such a terrific record against Man United. He's scored 5 goals in his last 5 meetings with that side. This improvement in Spurs, do you feel that's because of Solanke's return or a bit of pride that the players have discovered in the big fixtures, a bit like Sundays, or has Thomas Frank in any way adjusted or loosened up?
A little bit of all of the above, I think. Frank has found a system that works quite well with 2 number 10s, with Odegaard and Xavi Simons. That's actually coincided with Johan Heitinga coming in as his assistant. So some people have suggested that maybe Heitinga's tweaked a few things tactically or suggested to Frank, we could do this or that. Players have obviously come back, Solanke being the main one, although they've lost a lot of other players to injury. But they're still dysfunctional in other ways. You know, that they should be a lot more solid than they are. That was what Frank was really brought in to make them, you know, more pragmatic and hard to beat, and they're still not hard to beat. I don't have a huge amount of optimism about them going to Old Trafford against a United side who've obviously got their tails up under Carrick, and feels very new manager bouncy, doesn't it? And he's got them playing kind of sensibly and with a bit of panache. So I think it's going to be a tough game for Spurs.
Yeah, Carrick up against his former club here, looking to make it 4 wins out of 4. Not sure how many managers have done that before for United in their first 4 games. Guessing not many. Just a new manager bounce, Jack, or have they hit the real deal with Michael? We can wait and see.
I
if
will
you
not
prefer.
pass judgment on that just yet, but I have been impressed.
Yes.
I mean, against Fulham, I suppose what you can say for him is that he's ticked different boxes in the first game. Obviously, winning a derby is one thing. Knocking Arsenal off their kind of rhythm.
Perch.
Not quite perch. I avoided the word perch there, but like knocking Arsenal out of their momentum. And against Fulham, doing it a different way, kind of the Fergie time way, which is also, of course, a strand of Manchester United folklore, and I don't think will have harmed his case at all, even though they did let a lead slip. I thought they were less fluent against Fulham, but they did find a way. And yeah, I have been just really impressed by the way that so many players look more comfortable, more confident. Lisandro Martinez looks really good in the back 4 and seems to be playing like one killer pass every game, whereas previously United's defence seemed unable to pass to anyone other than the wing backs, who then passed it back to them. You know, we all watched that for 18 months, and I think anything that's slightly different to that has been really welcome. And I mean, against Fulham, it was, I think, Matheus Cunha coming in for Patrick Dorgu actually strengthens them. Dorgu has a lot of kind of running power, but I think Cunha is a better player, and I think, this will be a tough game against Tottenham, but I think there's no reason to think they can't continue their upward momentum.
Okay. Would it be a tough game, do you think, Duncan?
Yeah, I think United will win, to be honest. I think they're on the... I think they can probably target second place on current momentum. They obviously don't have any cup games at all, so... And the fabled, give Ruben Amorim time on the training pitch. I think that will actually help Michael Carrick. Like, he is actually using it quite well. So
they are as many points behind Man City as Man City are behind Arsenal. So, yeah, eminently doable.
Yeah. I think obviously Bruno Fernandes, everyone's talking about whether he can finally shatter the unbreakable Premier League assist record.
Where are we? So 22 the mark?
20.
20 is the mark.
Thierry Henry in 2003-04, and then De Bruyne equalled it. Bizarrely, Mesut Ozil had like 17 or 15 after not many games and still didn't manage to do it. But
What's Fernandes on?
He's on 12. So
8, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Go.
9. We're
9 to break it, right.
But, I mean, at the current rate, he just looks probably the best player in the league at the moment. So, it's going to be really tough for Spurs. I mean, I guess 12:30 kickoffs can sometimes be a little bit sluggish to start with. So.
Right.
But yeah, it's this feels like a really good weekend of Premier League action. And this should start it off very nicely.
Saturday afternoon features two more sides chasing top five. Villa, who are currently third, will be down at Bournemouth. So that's a Basque High School alumni assemble affair with Iraola against Emery. Villa, who are 4-0 winners over the Cherries at Villa Park in November. Chelsea, meanwhile, currently fifth, are at bottom of the table. Wolves, who had a busy day on Monday, bringing in, is it Angel Gomez, Jack, or Angel Gomez?
I say Angel, but that
All right.
you shouldn't take that as gospel.
England midfielder, of course, on loan from Marseille. Also, they've acquired the services of Southampton striker Adam Armstrong. Wolves currently flash after pocketing 48 million for Strand Larsen in a move dubbed Strand Larceny by one outlet. Yes, so it's Wolves, Chelsea, and Bournemouth, Villa. Thoughts on any of that, Dan?
Well, Wolves had turned a bit of a corner and picked up a bit of momentum. I think they went 5 unbeaten and then lost 2-0 to City and 2-0 to Bournemouth. So their momentum's kind of been stopped in their tracks. So I don't see them getting a result against Chelsea. I think Chelsea will have too much. And as Duncan pointed out, Rosenior's record is actually pretty strong in the league. He's won all the games, only lost in the League Cup. So
and Chelsea's record away at Molineux is great as well. Listen to this. Earlier this season, they went there and won 4-3. But last season in the league, they went there and won 6-2. Of course, that was before the arrival of Wolves' new additions, which mean that Wolves now have 4 players in their squad with the surname Gomez. Bill Edgar of the Time is pointing out there's only ever been one instance of an English league club fielding 4 players with the same surname in it.
Smith?
No, it was Jones, actually. It was Jones. Did you know this, Duncan? It was Crew Alexander in 1960. I mean, 4 players named Jones in one team. When I read that, I was reminded of the Sentimenti brothers in Italy. Sentimenti 4 is the famous one, but because in Italy, if you're a series of brothers, they just give you a Roman numeral at the end. But there were 9 Sentimenti brothers. This, I think, is back in the 1940s. 5 of them became professional footballers, and fully 3 of them featured for Lazio. So, yeah, the Sentimentis. But you got Gomez, not related, as far as I know, and João, Rodrigo, and Totti Gomez.
George Mendes is doing a cracking job.
Certainly, isn't it? What about Bournemouth Villa then, Jack?
Villa are confusing me a bit at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Despite being a football journalist, I don't follow the transfer window with particular gusto. And I have to say, I was stunned when I saw Leon Bailey coming on for Aston Villa at the weekend. It completely passed me by. I think he was on loan at Roma.
Yes.
Their kind of attacking reshuffle, I'm not sure going back to these guys like Bailey, Tammy Abraham's back. Obviously, I don't know whether they had control over Daniel Marlon leaving, but I would rather have Marlon there than Leon Bailey, probably. Ollie Watkins missed the defeat against Brentford, and I think he should be still first choice over Abraham. I think Abraham is a good squad option, but I would be reticent to have him as my kind of title race hitman, as it were. So yeah, I think, although to be fair to them, we did say probably 2 months ago when they had a wobble, there was a lot of is Villa's title push over, and they roared back into it. So I would not be ruling them out. I think Emery is a fantastic manager, but yeah, the transfer window I don't think was especially positive for them.
Well, the kind of nature of their business model is that they have to keep churning players because I think their wage to turnover ratio is by far the highest in the Premier League, is 90-something%. So they have to keep trying to make small profits on people like Daniel Marlon and then bringing in someone like Abraham. And you kind of wonder whether that level of sort of low-level, consistent churn is actually going to catch up with them at some point. But then, as Jack says, Emery is just a brilliant coach. He seems to improve every player he has. And I think there was some mad kind of stat doing the round that they could almost field a Dean Smith era team now.
Good
You know,
lord.
there
Left
hasn't-
back short, basically.
Right, so there hasn't been a huge amount of churn since 2021, and he's got a lot of the same players that were floundering kind of at the bottom of the table, and he's turned them into, from a bottom 3 team to a top 3 team, which really speaks to what a great coach he is.
That is extraordinary, isn't it? 8 wins in a row they had coming up to the new year, but since then, only 2 wins in 6 in the league, including the defeat at home to Brentford just last weekend.
They've struggled more at home recently than on the road. I think only Arsenal have won more away games than Villa this season. So I think they'll get back on track at what we used to call Dean Court. So
Okay.
there's a good piece on the Athletic today by Conor O'Neill about long-range goals and whether they're sustainable. And because obviously Villa are the poster boys this season for scoring from long range, and people have questioned the very soul of XG at points, but Connor kind of describes some of the intangibles, and I think Villa just have a few players like Morgan Rogers who are very, very good at shooting from long range, and
Certainly seems to.
yeah, so I think they'll still come in the top 5. That's what Emery's aiming for. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Hey, Brighton Crystal Palace, after last week's kind of fledgling affair with Forest, it's the return of Palace's proper grudge derby. Neither team coming into this in what you would call good form. Since the start of December, in fact, only the bottom 2 in the Premier League, Wolves and Burnley, are in worse form than Brighton and Palace. Seagulls have only picked up 1 win in their last 11 in the Premier League, slumping from 5th at the start of December to 13th now, while Crystal Palace haven't won any of their last 12 in any competitions. And they are, drifting down towards danger, not quite in it yet, but they're 9 points above the bottom 3.
Palace feel a bit like a ticking time bomb, I think.
Do they?
I think so.
That sounds exciting.
A few weeks ago, we all thought Glasner would leave. His position seemed unsustainable. He'd announced he was going at the end of the season and publicly criticised the club. He seems to have patched things up with Steve Parish and reached a kind of...
Over dinner at Ham's
Yes,
Yard.
apparently so. And reached this kind of uneasy truce.
Right.
But I think...
I love that when people cite the restaurant. L'escargot famously, and back in the days of New
It's
Labour.
great
But no.
colour. I mean, that kind of detail in a
Yeah.
sort of long read, I think, really elevates it.
Yeah.
So,
I can picture
I
them,
like
though.
that. Yeah, you want to know what they might have been eating,
Nando's.
drinking.
Yeah.
Roasted eagle.
Right.
Very nice.
Is that on? Is no.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all the rage.
Probably seagull, really, symbolically.
Poached to vendor. Yeah. Sorry. Right.
Yeah, but the question is how long that can last, and whether it.
What do you think, Dan?
Well, I can't see it lasting to the end of the season, given Palace's form.
Right.
And I mean, there's a lot riding on the Strand Larsen signing, I think, because Mateta's about to have surgery or has had surgery. I'm not sure. So he's
Right.
going to be out.
Plus, has upset all of his teammates by.
Precisely, yeah. So they've lost Gay and they've lost Mateta. So there's a lot of pressure on Strand Larsen to come in and.
So he only
start
scored
scoring
one goal in the course of this season so far, which is not great. He did get, I think, 14 last season. So is he going to be? Is this a signing that's going to work?
I don't think he's as good as Mateta. I think Mateta is probably surprised people with how many goals he's scored. I remember watching him in Germany previously, and he was he looked decent, but maybe not someone who would.
But he'd not scored many of late, had he, Mateta?
No, I think he's
None in 12, I think, was it?
Yeah, he's
His
fallen off a
knee's
bit.
not been working.
His knee's
Well, there you
been-
go. Yeah, but so maybe Strand Larsen with 2 knees better than Mateta
Potentially.
with 1.
I mean, but I think probably the main issue is that Palace's creativity has been reduced. Obviously, Elise, however long that was ago, 2 seasons ago, Eze going, and they've got players in there. Jeremy Pino is a really sparky player,
Right.
but is, I think, more naturally a winger. Ismail Assar is quick and very good at exploiting space, but again, isn't a creative passer. So I think perhaps that is what has gone wrong.
And potentially one creative arrival ended up doing a bit of a Peter Odom wingy in the shape of Dwight McNeil, who was down in London preparing to sign on for what he and his partner believe was a 4-year deal to join Palace, and then it all fell through, presumably, or the suggestion is because the Mateta deal didn't go through. Strand Larsen, that was still doable for Palace, but not the Dwight McNeil move.
I think Parish knew that Mateta's knee was dodgy. I wonder if because there was a lot of negative reaction to the Strand Larsen deal, and so there's some suggestion that he got spooked by that, and that he's kind of too online and aware of what people are saying, and pulled the plug on McNeil based on the kind of feedback.
Right.
I think it was a bit of a lot of people went to bed on Monday night going, I can't believe Palace are trying to buy Dwight McNeil, and then woke up on Tuesday to we're like, well, actually, no, that is quite upsetting for everyone involved. So I had to do quite a volte face in 12 hours.
What do you think of the abuse?
It's been really bad for Leicester recently.
Nice. But given everyone's reaction and the perspective that Dwight McNeil's partner has offered actually into what the experience is like for a player, I think we all maybe owe Peter Odemwingie a bit of an apology as well, because he had mirth poked at him relentlessly after he did his best to make that QPR deal go through.
I think if you drive to the ground of a club without knowing that deal can be done, that elevates it to a new, a new level.
We may never know the exact details. Oh, Palace did get Evan Gerson. What does that mean?
Well, Villa signed him in the summer, and Unai Emery, who we've discussed, is very good at getting players to perform above their previous level, didn't get much of a tune out of him. So I think Palace are in that weird position where, as Jack was saying, they've had some amazing talents who they've sold. They've obviously had an incredible season last season where they won the FA Cup, the first major honour they've ever won. But it's very hard then to know how to play it, because they can't go and compete with the really big clubs for players. The players that got them into that position look attractive to clubs, hence they get bought, like Eze went to Arsenal, etc. So often what happens is teams end up buying players that aren't as good as the players that have left, and it feels like Palace are very much in that sort of spiral at the moment. No, they obviously bought Brennan Johnson as well.
Right.
Their business hasn't felt as good since Dougie Freedman left.
Right.
And they were obviously very good at finding value in the market, and Eze and Elise were the best examples of that. Mateta was another example of that. And he left and went to Saudi Arabia, I think, last year, and it feels like their business has been a lot scattier and less canny. I think that's fair to say. Since
is this ticking time bomb going to explode all over the Amex this weekend, Dan?
You know what, Brighton are like the team that I pay least attention to in the Premier League.
Good
Is
Lord.
That fair?
Right.
They just kind of slip under the radar.
Well, I mean, Brighton had their own recruitment issues. Obviously, 2 summers ago, they were the highest spending team on planet Earth, which for someone who can remember them, just about staying up at Hereford in the Football League, it feels outlandish. I think Brighton have got a better squad, but they're just madly inconsistent. They never string results together. It's they don't even have runs of defeats. It's just win, draw, loss, win. So I think the fans are a bit confused. They seem to just be obsessed with getting James Milner the Premier League appearance record at the moment. So, and I think
He'll call Barry this weekend if he
but
plays.
the Brighton fans aren't happy because he keeps coming on with like 8 minutes to go. The Gareth Barry super fans are equally unhappy because they're like, this isn't, you're shattering a tent pole of Premier League history just with these random.
Imagine if they meet on the beachfront at Brighton, these two
Well,
factions.
Gareth Barry's from Hastings, so
Good Lord.
I mean, Battle of Hastings 2, Too Fast, Too Furious, make it happen.
Too fast, too many games. Not too fast, too many.
Yeah, too slow,
Games.
too late.
Elsewhere, you got Newcastle Brentford. If the season started the weekend before Christmas,
That's when I count it from. Yeah,
Brentford would be where, Dan?
West London.
second.
They would be second. Second in the table behind Arsenal. And Newcastle, I can reveal, would be 10th, which isn't that bad. I mean, it's,
Mid-table.
it's mid-table, isn't it? Anyway, Newcastle are hosting Brentford this weekend. Newcastle have only won one in their last 8 games in all competitions. Crikey.
The thing I'm looking forward to about this game is obviously one of the stories of last weekend was Brentford and the ball out of play shenanigans at Villa Park.
Oh, tell me.
Well, the Villa disallowed goal for Tammy Abraham was brought back by
yes.
VAR. The only other real ball out of play drama in recent Premier League history was obviously Newcastle scored against Arsenal a couple of seasons ago when there were 3 separate VAR checks, one of which was for the ball being out of play, and it was deemed not out of play in that instance. So
Oh, is this the Arteta disgrace?
yes, so yes, back to disgrace again as a sort
Yeah,
of
Misfortune
and
is
so
what
he
he
got
meant.
away with it.
Yeah.
With saying
see
that he meant
everything-
misfortune.
Everything is linked. All these little callbacks. You've got
Right.
to respect the Premier League scriptwriter. But
So, good moment has entered the English language and is now widely used. I'm in a good moment. They're in a good moment, and that comes entirely from the Latin languages, the momento buono or whatever the Portuguese momento bom.
They wouldn't say that.
They wouldn't say
they
that.
don't do that.
But yeah, loads of Italians coming over and saying,
Well, was it Michael Cox that did the piece on Word of the Year in football, which I very much enjoyed?
"All right,
How
was
things
that in
have
there?"
entered the lexicon like "we go again."
We
for,
go
for
again.
example.
part of the bus.
Right.
the bus.
But I wonder to what extent disgrace might soon.
Well, I think obviously it was absurd that Arteta got away with that because he knew exactly what he was doing and he was not
A
mistranslating.
man who'd
it
lived in England for a long
a man
time.
who considered playing for England, if I recall. Or certainly there was chat about him switching nationalities. So he knew what he was doing. I think Romero knew what he was doing. But if I was Romero, being called in by Johan Langer and Vinay, that's the first thing I would say. Oh, I put it through Google Translate and that's what it came out as.
What we need is like some proper old school English football men to just drop the Spanish in to get like deniable plausibility. Like, that famous Charlie Austin, oh, it's a disgracia. It's a disgracia.
Perhaps Conor Gallagher with his newfound, Latin skills, Latin language skills. Anyway, Newcastle taking on Brentford. May see Johan Wissa up against the club he left in acrimonious circumstances. Also this weekend at 3:00, you got Fulham against Everton. Everton away games are tight affairs. The Toffees have scored 11 and conceded 11 in their 12 matches on the road this season. This game might also feature a debut for Loney Tyreek George, who's coming from Chelsea. Elsewhere this weekend, you've got the teams placing 16th to 19th, all facing each other in relegation-related fixture news. So Burnley, who are 19th and got beat Monday night by Sunderland 3-0, will be hosting West Ham, who are 18th. That's a Saturday 3:00 affair. And then the pair who are 6 above West Ham, and thus the bottom 3, Leeds and Nottingham Forest, face each other at Ellen Road. Crikey. Leeds in good form, only 2 defeats in their last 11. Forest equally are on their best unbeaten run of the season in the Premier League, 4 matches. So that should be a sizzler with potentially dramatic consequences should West Ham win their game away at Burnley, a claret and blue 6-pointer.
Yeah, Leeds Forest feels like if you designed a Friday night game. I mean,
Great Friday night.
if it was a championship fixture, which it obviously has been many
What are
times,
the
it would
qualities
also be a
that-
Friday night game.
What are the qualities of a Friday night game that it ticks so
I don't know, just
comprehensively?
Ellen Road feels like probably the most Friday night stadium in the country.
Yeah, they'll be up for that on a Friday night.
Yeah, and
They won all their games under the light so far this season.
yeah. Well, that's not technically true, is it? Because you have the lights on all during the winter at all points. But yeah, I see the point you're trying to make. But yeah, really, I think this will be a great game. I mean, 2 big clubs in a bad way, but actually maybe probably slightly better than the league table suggests. Yeah, I think Leeds will fancy it.
Okay, which could leave Forest in trouble if Burnley give 3 points to West Ham in a game that will be taking place the next day at 3:00. Burnley now on a winless run of 15 matches after that defeat at Sunderland on Monday. They are 11 points from safety. West Ham of Crescencio Somerville in terrific form. He scored in the last 4 in all competitions.
I had high hopes. Well, not high hopes for Burnley, medium hopes for Burnley at the start of the season.
Did you?
But they're just
Those hopes have
away.
been shattered by another cruel, cruel campaign in the toughest division in the world. What do you think, Jack? Any big drama from the relegation battle this weekend? West Ham creeping a bit closer to Forest?
Yeah, I think I mean, West Ham are so hapless, and it seems very misguided to expect them to win on any given week. But I do still think
They were on a better run of form, though.
yeah,
weren't they?
yeah. But and I just think Jared Bowen is probably one of the best players in that relegation scrap, and the kind of person who can go on a run and drag them somewhere. Burnley don't have a player like that, I don't think. Forest, touch and go. But I think West Ham will definitely make a fight of it.
Well, I think Forest have got Gibbs White, who's been really good recently.
true.
I think Leeds have got Calvert-Lewin and Brendan Aronson, bizarrely, who's turned into some sort of Superman figure. That, I think, to Dan's point earlier, that's why Palace might be in trouble, because you can see West Ham, Leeds and Forest all continuing to pick up points. And the two teams on 29 points at the moment, Crystal Palace and Spurs. I think Spurs will be fine. But Palace, as a ticking time bomb is correct.
Well, I mentioned Heitinga at Spurs earlier, but West Ham have brought in this new assistant, Paco Gémez, who I believe used to be a manager in Spain, and that this has coincided with them being much better.
Oh.
And so, again, there's seemingly value in picking a good assistant to change your fortunes.
Definitely.
It's classic supporter, fortunes improve, the recruitment team got it right, the new assistant manager, they've changed the day, the players get resting in the week.
Right.
There's all these little things you can...
Whereas it's all completely random.
Well, I wouldn't say completely random.
It kind of is, though,
It's about quality on the grass.
That's true as well. And Leeds having the lights on.
Yeah.
Well, Nuno's motivation for catching Forest, of course, doesn't need to be underlined. So that'll be an interesting narrative to follow, particularly if West Ham do get the win and Forest don't this weekend. It'll only be 3 points between them. Oh, I should mention that Saturday morning we'll have a brand new Totally Extra coming out, one of those kind of retro wallow in a story from yesteryear type affairs, in which Duncan and some Leeds aficionados will be joining us
Under lights.
to discuss Leeds living the dream, a.k.a. going from Champions League semi-finals to League One in the space of about 5-6 years. Woof. What a tale. What a ticking time bomb that proved to be. Hey. Anyway, you can enjoy that if you fancy hearing about one of the most extraordinary passages. Anyway, well, Duncan, I'll see you for that on Friday. We'll be recording that. By the way, if you have a strong view on Leeds and you'd like us to air it in that extra, get it in by Friday morning and bosh. For now, though, that's it for this Totally Football show. Many thank yous to Duncan, to Jack, to Dan, and to, Jake and producer Charlie in the booth, and you, especially, listener. Lovely to have you with us. Hope you'll be joining us again soon. For now, from all of us here, it's goodbye. The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.